Hello again, everyone. Today I am here with a small haul from Jackson's Art Supply. This is mostly watercolors and a brush. That's pretty much all it is. But I'm going to test out all of these watercolors for you. And pretty much all of these are new and or limited edition watercolors. So these are all from Schmincke, and these are two little 5mm tube sets of the granulation sets that I did not get all of. So this is the Tundra collection, and then this is the Forest collection. So it has these colors that are shown here on the side. I'll go through them as I swatch them. So when you open this up, there are just these cute little 5mm tubes inside. These little sets are much less expensive than the 15ml size sets, so I decided to go ahead and try these out because I don't think I'll want large amounts of these colors because, like, especially with the Forest set, they're all pretty much variations of green. But you never know, I do want to try them out, so that's why I got them. So that's those. And then this is a limited edition color from Schmincke called Ocean Gray. And it is, I think there was supposed to be a larger collection related to this particular artist, CC Ferre, I think is how you say it. But this is, you know, like an artist color. Let me see what it says here on the side. Oh, brands of the century. Okay. Oh, let me get this out of the box. I just left it in the box so that you could see the limited edition box that it comes in. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one out. And this is a full 15ml tube. I really am quite a fan of blue, all kinds of blue watercolors. So this was one that I wanted to get. And this, let's see, it looks like it has 3 pigments in it. One being a black, a green, and a blue. PB29, I believe that is ultramarine blue. PG50, I think that's a turquoise. And then PBK6 is a black. So I will go ahead and put that in the little row here for those to be tested out. And then the last watercolor I got was this Daniel Smith watercolor, which is called Granulating Black. So this is not a limited edition, I don't think, but it is part of a signature series for a particular artist, a person named Lauren McCracken. I had not heard of her, but, or him, I suppose it could be a him. But the color was quite intriguing to me. It has a ton of different pigments in it. It has, I'll just list them all off: Prussian blue, transparent brown oxide, carbazole violet, quinacridone red, anthraquinoid red, nickel azo yellow, perylene scarlet, and I think that's it. But that is quite a few colors to have in a black, but I love all of those different colors that were mentioned, each on their own. So I just kind of wanted to see what kind of a dynamic black that might create. So that's why I decided to try that one. And then the one brush that I got is a Tintoretto brush. It is a goat hair brush, which I don't see very often for watercolor brushes. This is a mop brush, so it would be used for wetting the page or, you know, putting a lot of pigment on a larger page. So this is a size 8, and like I said, it is a goat hair brush, so it is not vegan. But goat hair is I mean, I've dealt with goat hair brushes mostly for encaustics, because for encaustics, which is working with beeswax, you have to heat the brushes and you cannot use synthetic brushes for that. So it has to be natural hair brushes. And I generally am using goat hair brushes for that. But this is the first time I had seen a goat hair brush for a watercolor brush. It is, based on the texture here, it is less soft, and I'm not sure if it's less absorbent, but it's certainly less soft than a squirrel hair brush is what I meant to say, which is another kind of mop brush, or at least a natural fiber that is used for a mop brush. I might try to test this a little bit just to plop some water down on the page, but we'll see if I have time for that. So let me go ahead and get my paper out that I plan to test all of these brushes with. This is the paper that I use for most things when I'm not looking to use a 100% cotton paper. This is the Pentalic Field Book in a 7 by 10 inch size. And this paper is really good for testing things, and it's just a great overall paper. So I'm actually going to try these one-offs first, and then I will do the granulating watercolors. I'm also going to put a link, these granulating watercolors, I'm also going to put a link to my past, I'm trying to think if I want to do just one video or several videos, because I did swatch the entire collection other than these two for the granulating collection. What I might do is just link to the latest video, which will then have successive links to prior videos. So I'll probably do that so you can see the other colors in the highly granulating collection. Actually, it looks like they're calling it Super Granulation. So that's I guess the official name of that collection. So I have some water off here to the side, and I'm going to be using this little brush, which is from Jackson's Art Supply here in the US. And this is a sable hair brush, and I'll put a link to this because I often get a lot of comments about it. But the design of it, I think, has changed a little bit because all of the labeling that was on here has since worn off, but I think the newer ones, the labeling stays on a little longer. So I'm just wetting my brush a little bit. Oh, and I should mention that with this goat hair brush, I did get the manufacturing material off of it already. I soaked it in water because it was a little bit misshapen when it came out of the little slip pouch that it was in. So I did that so that I could make sure that it was all good to go in case I did want to use it today. Okay, so what I'm planning to do, I'm going to prepare for this. So I have a little pouch here from Chic Sparrow with a bunch of different half pans in here. So I'm just going to get one out to start. And because I am at elevation here in Denver, Colorado, sometimes when I open paint tubes, they leap out of the out of the tube. So if they do, I will just capture it in this little half pan. But if not, I'm just going to put a little bit of pigment here on the page and wet that out to test it out. So let's see what we have here. They've come a long way. So sometimes, oh, yep, this one is coming out. So I'm going to have to transfer that. I mean, I could transfer it to something smaller, but this is generally what I've been using. So I think it's probably good to stick with that. It seems like a pretty thick black. And I'm actually going to use the end of this watercolor thing to get the excess pigment out of the cap there. And I am gonna flatten that up a little bit. And this will also show you how you can fill pans. It's usually not this messy, but when it does pop out like that, I think I'm just gonna use what's on here because I probably have enough to test. Just want to make sure I'm not wasting that. Okay, let's go ahead and close up that tube. Oops, always doing that. I have a little screen up here to see what I'm doing, and that got closed. Okay, so I'm rinsing off the excess black that's on the back of this brush, and so let's go ahead and wet that sample there. Let me zoom in a little bit too. I just had a few minutes today to do this, so I wanted to go ahead and do it. Oh, that is kind of an interesting black. It looks black, so there's that, but you can also see that there is quite a bit of, there's some different undertones going on here, which is kind of nice. I'm actually going to see if I can dilute this a little bit so we can see how it looks diluted out. Actually, I might just keep going. so that we can see some of the nuances. And as this dries, we'll be able to see what the quality of it, whether it's granulating or not. It's kind of hard for me to tell. It looks like it might be granulating, but like I said, it's hard to tell at this point in time. So since I did use this already, and I will label these after the fact because that will just take some time out of this video here, but I am going to get another half pan in case I have the same issue with the next color here. Okay, good. Okay, we're not having the same problem there. I think I'll just take from the cap here. And that should be plenty. All right, get a little bit more water here. And this should be granulating. Oh, that's really, really pretty. I like that an awful lot already, even before it's dried. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit more water here so that we can get a diluted sample to see how it looks. Oh yeah, I can see some of the black in here. That's very interesting as sort of the undertone. All right. So I'm going to try and have smaller samples here of the granulating colors. And I will put this up to the video, to the camera closer as I go. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Tundra collection. I'll just, for now, take them out of the package so that I can do one by one here. And I'm still going to have my little half pan off to the side here so that I can catch any pigment if it decides to leap out. Ooh, that is leaping out a little bit, but I think we're probably going to have to go for the pan. Okay. So this one, and I will read you the pigment information as well. So this is Tundra Orange, and this one has PR233, PBR7, and PY43. So a red, brown, and yellow pigment. And it looks like I have a little bit of extra here, so I'm just going to use that. Oop, you can't see that because I had that off the camera. There was a little bit that had flowed off of the cap there. So I'm going to put that off to the side there, get a little bit more water. Okay, and I don't want it to be too crazy diluted, so let's try and get a little bit more pigment in there. And I believe that Tundra Orange is the one that I probably already tested on the channel before, but oops, and I'm gonna need another half pan just in case. I should probably just leave this open, grab from it when I need it. This one is Tundra Pink, which I think we can probably get away with just putting a little bit on there. Although this says it's a Tundra Pink, it does look fairly purple to me. Although you can see the separation of the pigments here. That's actually kind of nice. This one has PB29 and PR233. So PB29, that's again ultramarine blue and then a red in there. So that would explain why it's looking kind of purple. Okay, and then this next one is Tundra Violet. Oh, this one is definitely coming out there. And it's interesting, like the other colors I have tested before, This seems to be fairly inconsistent about how, make sure I'm not using too much pigment here, with the viscosity of the watercolor. Some of them are very, very thick, and some of them are not thick at all. Okay, and I am going to try to put that back here. Yes, these are actually quite messy this time. I'm making sure I put these aside so I know which colors they are. And this is probably going to have more pigment than the others because I just have so much pigment here on my brush. And I am going to dilute that out a little bit. And I'll need another half pan here. So this next one is Tundra Blue. Okay, again, I think we can be safe with just using a little bit from the tube there. Oh, that's actually really, really pretty. Okay. Really nice. Oh, and this one's really pretty too, that Tundra Violet. You can see a lot of the brown separating there. Okay, and then the last color in this Tundra collection is Tundra Green. And then, oh, did I say which colors were in the blue? I don't think I did. In the blue, there is PB 29 and PBR 7. So blue and a brown. And then in this green, there is PBR 6 and PG 19. So a brown and a green. Okay, oh, come on. I'm gonna see if I can get away with just dabbing that and then trying to put that back into the tube. Oh boy. Nope. I got a little bit around the edges. You can see if there's too much pigment sitting or when you try to push it down, it'll kind of ooze out of the container. So again, that's going to be a little bit of a bigger swatch because I have so much color. It really is kind of a drag being at elevation and having this problem because pretty much whenever I get anything, there's a very high likelihood that that will happen. Oh, and this is actually quite a pretty kind of muddy greenish brown. Okay, and I have a lot of pigment again, so I'm going to do a diluted sample there. Let's see if I can move some of that pigment over. All right, so that's the Tundra collection. So let me put this up to the camera real quick, and I'll do that again at the end. So we have Tundra Orange, Tundra Pink, which one was this? This was Tundra Violet, Tundra Blue, and Tundra Green. It's actually a very lovely combination here. And then these have dried pretty much. So we have this, well, this is still, actually I think the color is a little bit glossy over here, and I think it might be dry. It's just a little glossy. Looks like you can get a really nice gray with this by watering it out here, but it's a very dynamic black. I kind of like this black a lot. This is gorgeous. This ocean gray is really, really gorgeous. I'm really, really loving that. There is quite a bit of granulation going on here. So you can see some other colors coming through. It's gorgeous. And with these, you can definitely, I mean, as the name indicates, they are super granulation. colors, though that's definitely coming out in those. I would say that these are probably more consistently granulating than a lot of the other sets out there. Okay, so that's the Tundra, and then I'm going to do the Forest collection down here. So I'm still going to have my half pan available. And then I'm going to take these out of the box like before. So these are really all variations on green. Even this blue is pretty green. And the Forest Gray is the color that I already had in my collection, but it looks more green than gray to me. So we have Forest Olive, Forest Green, Forest Blue, Forest Brown, and Forest Gray. But like I said, they really are all variations on a green. So let's see with the Forest Olive. Okay, I think we can get away with some of that again. I have to just get a little bit that came out of the top there. Because I do actually have a new palette, a new watercolor palette coming from Art Toolkit, and it takes her little metal pans, and I'm actually looking forward to adding colors to that. So I don't necessarily want all of these new colors, which I might want to add in a half pan, because I might end up moving it over there. So that was a very wet sample because my brush was very wet, but that is Forest Olive, which has, I didn't tell you the pigments, it has PG18, PB7, PBR7, and PY43, so a green, brown, and yellow pigment. And then this next one is Forest Green. Okay, good. That one seems to be the most well-behaved yet. Excellent. Hopefully I can just get enough out to do a little sample here. So Forest Green has PG19 and PBR33. I'm going to try and make my brush a little less wet than the prior one so that it's not over wet here. And what I've been doing is just kind of pushing the pigment so that we can have sort of a dilute side and a little bit more pigmented side. This is actually a really beautiful green. That's lovely. And I probably can add a little bit more water to this side just to get it going a little bit. Yes, and going back to this olive, it's pretty wet. I'm going to try and distribute that pigment a little bit. Okay, so that last one was Forest Green. This next one is Forest Blue. Oh, yep, and that didn't feel like it was boiling over, so that's good. So Forest Blue has PB36 and PBK11. So PBK11 is a very granulated black. PB36, I don't remember which blue that is, but let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's a gorgeous color. I love that. That is really, really nice. And again, I'm going to try and get a little bit more water over here on this side. Okay. This next one is Forest Brown. Yeah. This one I think has to go in a pan as well. And I'm going to pull from the cap here because there is some in the cap. actually going to try and get rid of some of that because I have too much pigment here. And this is really one of the reasons why I try to do swatches from a pan first, from a dried pan. First off, it'll give me a better indication of what my color is truly going to look like when I use it in the field, so to speak, because that's how I'm usually using my colors, is from dry. But also then I don't have to fuss with potentially leaking all over the table here. So that was Forest Brown, and did I say which pigments they are? No, I don't think I did. So this is PG 26, PBR 7, and PY 43. So a green, a brown, and a yellow. So I'm going to put this together with its little half pan here up on that area there. And then the last one here is Forest Gray, which, like I said, I do already have just this one color. It's kind of the one I picked. Although in retrospect, if I could pick one of these colors, I probably would have picked the blue had I seen like a real life swatch of each of these. Okay, good. That's not going to go over as well. So the gray has PBR 7, PG 50, and PBK 11. So there's that granulating black again, a brown, and a green. Although PG 50, I think, might be sort of a turquoise, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I could see how they could classify this as a gray. It's definitely a grayish green. And again, I'm just trying to get some different intensities here. Okay, so there's that. I can put my last half pan away because we didn't have that issue. And I'm going to show you these close up, and then I think I'm going to try a little experiment with that larger brush there. So here we have Forest Olive, Forest Green, Forest Blue. What was this one called? Forest Brown. Sorry, that's my doorbell. Forest Brown. I'm not quite sure why that would be called brown. And then this one is Forest Gray. And then let's go ahead and what I'm gonna do with this brush is I'm going to wet it. It holds a lot of water, a lot of water. Okay, so now it's all filled and there's tons of water in the belly here. So I'm just gonna wet my page, and it gets my page pretty darn wet. You can't really see it head on, but I can see it when I'm looking at it sideways. And then, since I have some colors here in pans, I am going to pull from a little bit of those and sort of plop it down in here and see. This is sort of a wet and wet technique when you can have the color flow like that. So that's that black. And then this is Tundra Orange. And you kind of have to move fast, especially here in Colorado, because the paper dries pretty fast. Okay, and then I'm gonna do really quickly one more, which is this violet, which is fairly thick, but should be fine. Okay, yeah, this is the Tundra Violet. And you can kind of see the difference. That was still wet there, but when you go off to the side, you know, you can, basically watercolor is all about manipulating water. So you really have a lot of control over where things go as long as you're controlling where the water goes. Because here I'm getting a more even distribution because it's dry up there, whereas here it was fanning out like that. Let's see if I can pull from there. I don't have a lot of pigment there. So I think that's probably going to be the example that you get there. All right, so I think that's all I had for you today. Let me go ahead and put this up to the camera again so you can see the different effects of wet and wet here. And this is wet on dry, where you can get a much harder line. And essentially anywhere that, so all of these were all of these samples, let me zoom out just a little bit so you can see the whole page. All of these samples were essentially wet on dry because the paper was dry when I put the samples down. Some people do like to do their samples wet and wet because you can kind of see how the color flows and that sort of thing, but this is generally how I'm making my samples. Most of these colors are dry now, so you can see a lot of the nice granulation going on up here. This one is gorgeous, this violet. The blue is also pretty. These are all beautiful colors. I would say the least granulating of these is this last one, which is the Tundra Green. And here, I mean, olive is not so granulating, but I was also using a lot of water with that particular sample, so that might be affecting that. But the rest of these do seem pretty granulating. Yeah, I think these sets are probably a little bit more successful overall in having granulation than some of the others that we've seen. All right, well, that's all I had for you today. Feel free to subscribe to keep track of future videos on my channel. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. I hope to see you next time, but in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.